the New York Knicks. I'm back in the New York groove. Well, it's the Knicks. New York. We are the New York Knicks. New York. For this new season we're about to enter, the Knicks is taking no shorts, just like winter. New York, New York.
New York be about the Knicks, huh?
But the best thing about New York City is
K-N-I-C-K-S.
Everybody say go New York, go New York, go!
Go New York, go New York, go!
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 575 of the New York Knicks podcast. The Knicks are still not playing, but we're going to talk about the Knicks. How you doing, Mark?
How you doing?
We're also part of Dash Radio. So
yes.
check us out on there.
Okay. Do you want to talk more about Dash Radio, or can we move on?
We can move on.
Okay. So I think I think the NBA, their rules and stuff are a little too strict because something's going on right now that I think is really unfair.
Okay.
Do you think the two best teams are really Golden State and the Boston Celtics, who are currently playing in the NBA Finals? Right now, we're 2 games in. Game 3 is Wednesday night. Should we really having these two teams play each other?
Yes.
Okay. I see you take the old ways of doing things and going with the idea that, like, just the two best teams to play each other in the finals. But I don't think that's fair. I think if there's a player that's better than an entire team, maybe a player better than the entire league, he should get to play the other team. Like, it should be Frank Ntilikina versus the Boston Celtics. It's unfair that Frank Ntilikina is not allowed to rise above because he can single-handedly beat the Boston Celtics. He can play every position. Do you know Frank Ntilikina is? Do you know he dominated the playoffs up to this point, and he is only 2 weeks old. Can you imagine when he gets older?
I feel like you've been spending a little bit too much time on Twitter, and it melted your brain.
It may have. It may have. I do think now that every time I see a Frank Ntilikina tweet related to his performance with the Mavericks, there should be a little thing after it that says, click here to learn the real truth about Frank Ntilikina. Kind of like they do with COVID.
May contain misinformation.
this tweet may contain misinformation. There should be like a Knicks. There should be a Knicks podcast out there where like the host is like the NBA Joe Rogan, who like every episode just like kind of goes in a little bit off the just kind of off the lane and basically go like, well, you know, I mean, like, I know people are saying these things, but like Frank Ntilikina, he's just like, he's ungodly. I think he outscored the Golden State every game in that series. But they didn't count his points.
That's interesting. Tell me more. By the way, have you ever tried DMT?
Tell me more. Tell me more. Do you like the buck hunt? Do you like to take random vitamins that no one has any proof behind it actually work?
You know, Frank really is good on defense. Have you ever hunted elk?
Frank hunts elk. Frank has killed more elk. Frank is good at everything.
It's amazing this podcast hasn't blown up. I'm just...
Maybe we should go all in on just the takes of like all the Chuck Norris jokes, but about Frank Ntilikina.
Bad Weather Fans gets Tracy McGrady, and we're like, let's just make fun of Joe Rogan and Frank Ntilikina during the season.
Yeah. Well, we do what we can. Why try to improve the show at this point?
It's true.
We're the Frank Ntilikina of Knicks podcasts, underappreciated or overappreciated by superfans.
All right, so
okay,
we got a few things planned for today.
And if you're watching live, Jay is naked. Okay, go on, Jay.
We do all our shows live. If you want to join in, we're on YouTube. Check out our YouTube channel, TITOWAJ. We're on Twitch. The Twitch channel is Crumpled Bacon, and we're on Discord. You could check out our website, thenewyorknickspodcast.com, or NY Knicks Podcast on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, and we'll have links to all that stuff on there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to start the show with our first topic, Jay?
Sure. So it seems like a few people would like to see Randle on a different team.
Which Randle do you mean?
Is there more than one? Oh, yeah. You
No.
mean 2 year ago Randle versus last year Randle?
Yeah, well, no, I mean there used to be that guy Chasing Randle who's on the Knicks for half a second. So Julius Randle, Jay is going to try to convince me that he has value, and other NBA teams might want his pouting on their teams.
Right. So Mark thinks he's untradeable and just dead weight.
Well, let me just ask you, like, let's just say the Knicks keep him.
Yes.
It can go. I guess obviously we don't know exactly what next season will happen next season. 2 years ago, he was All NBA on the second team and had a great year, an All Star.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, he was pretty bad. Would be fair to say?
Yeah, pretty bad. Seemed a little bit of a head case, kind of pouting, doing weird things on the court. If you look at his box scores, like maybe not a shooting percentage, but like if you're just like, oh, he averaged almost 20 and 10, like you're like, what's the problem? But the eye test on the court said something different, and it looked like there was a problem, and the team was just not nearly as good when he was playing.
Right. I mean, people keep like anyone that people defend him, they're like, he put up 20, 10, and 5. No one put the 20, 10, and 5. It was not good. Like, he's obviously being very productive. And it's why, I mean, a lot of really bad teams have guys that score 20 points a game because it doesn't necessarily mean you're good at putting the ball in the basket. It depends on how many shots it takes you.
Right.
I mean, every game, both teams get to probably 80 to 90 points in the game. It doesn't mean because you scored 80 or 90, you've had an amazing day. You could lose a game and had a bad game, but scored 90 points as a team.
True. Yeah.
So anyway, his number, the big thing on his numbers were, he went from 41% from three to 30%. 41% from three is above league average. A very good shooter from three. 30% is terrible. He
really
went from
bad.
24 points a game to 20 points a game, which is not a vast difference. But he went from 45% from the field to 41%. He became overall effective field goal percentage from 51% to 46%. And throughout the season, his defense was just not there most of the time.
Yeah.
So
Andrew said Chasing Randle is killing it in New Zealand. I don't even know if that's a joke or not.
I don't know how to look that up to find out if that's true or not. I'm going to assume he's not joking and he's dominating New Zealand. Go Chasing Randle. I hope you make it all the way to the Australian border. Maybe you get to move on like bigger and bigger countries till you're back to the U.S. So let's just say
he
this.
said he's in New Zealand, but he's not killing it.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know why Andrew had to inform the audience that no one was ever going to check the facts on that. Anyway, let's say Randle comes back to the Knicks next year and he's like he was 2 years ago. That level of performance, how good would that make the Knicks?
I think it would make the Knicks very good. It's the problem is you've used a top 10 draft pick on a guy that plays the same position. So you have the same problems now. What do you do with Obi?
You know what you do with Obi? Obi plays 20 minutes or less a game. There's no way it doesn't seem like it's possible for Randle to be on the Knicks team and play under 35 minutes a game, which really means there's not a lot of time, a lot of minutes for Obi.
Right. And the last month of the season, Obi was really good. And it seems like what's the point of I think the argument was Randle doing anything that Obi wasn't the last month of the season, but you're paying Randle 10 times as much money.
It's also, I feel a lot of it's also about well, first off, do you think Obi's a backup bench piece or you think he's a guy who could start? Because if you think he's a guy who could start, pick one starter.
Right. Yeah, I guess that's the question for the front office to answer. I think he's more of a backup, but Knicks Twitter seems to disagree.
I'd make the argument that the team is better off. Like, I'd say you could argue Randle's a better player. Not even argue. You could say Randle's a better player. But Obi might be a better fit for the team because you're building – your goal here at this point seems to be beyond winning is to build more around RJ. I don't think Randle fits as well as Obi does with RJ.
Agreed. The offense was way more cohesive when Randle was out and Obi was playing.
Right, and that's the biggest thing. Like, you were trying to win games, so you need a cohesive offense. One of the things I say about Randle is that he gets assists, but his assists in some ways, like there's no bad assists, but every play is him taking the ball at the top of the key, kind of trying to back in or drive to the lane and kick it out. Everything's kind of so built around your power forward. A power forward that's fine, it's just kickouts basically. Most of his assists, which are fine. It's a very stagnant approach. He's not a point guard. Expecting him to operate like a point guard is a weird way to expect Randle to like. I don't think an offense built around Randle running the show or being your point guard is a winning offense. Come the playoffs or just generally, it can get you to the playoffs, but won't get you very far in the playoffs.
I agree, and even if he's playing good, I think with him, there's a certain ceiling when he's going to be your highest paid player, and I really think the Knicks should probably move on. It was fun that season. He was good. Was really fun, but if he plays like he did last season again, 2 years of that is going to make him almost untradeable, and two, it's going to ruin the whole season.
Right. If he's like bad or some of the last season, he just basically is a negative on the court, and he can't be playing unless he's not going to become a backup on the team because he's not going to take that step. Yeah. We need our coach who's kind of stubborn to make that step happen. What really will be is most of the season he'll play 35 minutes, hurt the team, and then the coach, in game 70, will finally put Randle, take Randle off the bench, and our season will be done already.
Yeah, kind of like this season.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. This season, at least he came off a really great season, so you were you're willing to give him more of a chance.
Yeah,
but his contract's not crazy. So
no, it's not like it. We're gonna have some players this season that are gonna be making $50 million. Randle's gonna be making half of that, so it's not. It's not like a cap killing contract, but it's also, if it's gonna make your team not better, to have a guy making $25 million is not good.
Right. Even the money thing, because I'm not sure the Knicks will use the money so much better if he's not spent on him. But so the next 4 years are, or at least next season. I think maybe in the future we can get, because we're kind of capped next year anyway. But it goes 23, 25, 27, and then a player option for 29, which you'll clearly exercise.
It's not that bad.
It's not that bad in terms of if you just look at the numbers of 20, 10, and 5. Yeah, for those numbers, it's not so bad, but it's not your team is not it's not a fantasy team where you can just put together numbers, just add them together. It has to be a cohesive unit. It has to be something the offense works best. I just don't think, as I think we just got to, the offense does not seem to work best with Randle out there. It seems like we'd be better off having a faster pace, more running offense. Kind of how the offense looked, basically. The offense looked when he was not on the court late in the season. Anyway, so how are we going to move him, Jay?
I mean, just for some context, Bertans was making $16 million this year.
Yeah, and Bertans was not a very good player. There are a lot of bad contracts out there. I mean, the thing is also, when Randle did not play, the Knicks offense scored about the same amount of points.
Yeah.
I'm not checking, but I just, from watching anytime, at the end of the season when Randle wasn't playing, it wasn't like we couldn't find the offense.
Right. So I also asked on Twitter for some suggestions for realistic Randle trades. So I'll read some of those too.
Okay, why don't you read them and see where we go, Jay?
So Clone Daddy said Randle, Reddish, and the 11th pick, and the Mavs 2023 pick for Harrison Barnes and the number 4 pick.
Okay, so could you start that again?
Randle, Reddish, this year's number 11 pick, and the Mavs 2023 pick for Harrison Barnes.
To get the 4.
Harrison Barnes and the 4.
Okay, so we are thinking that the point of this trade obviously is to get up there. Jaden Ivey, it looks like right now, if you just look at the mock draft on Tankathon, going with that mock draft, Jaden Ivey is at 4.
Yeah.
Would you trade? So 11 for 4, no problem, obviously.
Yeah. The Mavs pick is going to be probably low 20s.
So you're trading a first-round pick it's a late pick. Otherwise, Cam Reddish, which was a first-round pick, we traded for him.
Right. So it's almost like 3 first-round picks.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you could argue that. To get to number 4, I think I would do that. I think we just need some better players in this team. Ivy's, I'm just guessing. We're just assuming Ivy would be there. Could be Shaden Sharp. Could be Keegan Murray. It could be maybe Chet Holmgren could fall. Who knows? Jabari Smith probably won't fall there. But anyway, getting another top 5 talent on this team would be huge. You still have your first round picks. Cam Reddish is going to fight for minutes anyway on this team. I would do this in a heartbeat. I don't know. I don't know if the Kings would do that because I can't see the Kings really. I mean, they're a dumb organization, but trying to match putting Randle there with
Sabonis.
It seems like there's not a fit there. But the Kings.
Also, how happy would Knicks fans be if we get Barnes and then Barnes is playing in front of Obi?
Well, Barnes is more of a small forward.
So is he going to play in front of RJ? Or you move RJ to the 2?
I don't know. You figure it out. I think the problem also one of the issues also with Obi and Randle is both of them are limited in the positions they can play. They can either play center or power forward, nothing else. Whereas you have other guys that might be a little more switchable.
Right.
So you can figure out a better combination. Obi really is not fast enough or quick enough to play the 3, which is fine. He could be your small ball center. Though I think Randle in some way could be a center, could be a small ball center more than a 3. But are you doing this, Jay? I would do this. I don't see the Kings doing it, but I would do it.
I don't think I would.
Why not, Jay?
I just think having Barnes creates the same problem that you have right now.
You could argue that Barnes is not. First of all, he's probably not going to pout in the court. And second, he doesn't assume he is the starter or he is like minutes are given to him. I think Randle is now assumes he's the face of New York and everything has to be given to him or else it's a disaster for him. Like you could probably limit Harrison Barnes' minutes a little more.
You think?
Like play him 25 minutes without being a big deal versus I don't think you can play Randle 25 minutes without being a big deal.
You think? Barnes has been a starter pretty much his entire career.
That is a fair point. I also just think Barnes is a little not that Barnes is a more efficient player than Randle. And he's a little more switchable. Again, he plays 3. You could I feel that you could make this work a little better than having also how many years left does Barnes have?
Barnes,
I think his deal is almost over, I feel like.
He has just next year at 18. So maybe you flip him.
Yeah. So maybe you flip him. There you go, Jay.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a totally reasonable contract to flip. Also, totally reasonable to see if it works. Then not obviously. Anytime you talk about drafting, someone will say is like, "What if we get a 3? We already have 3s. What if we get a point guard? We already have point guard. Like, there's only 5 positions. We're always going to already have that position."
Yeah, but I feel like there's a difference between having the position, getting somebody in the same position as RJ is different than getting somebody who plays the same position as Fournier.
2s and 3s are a little more switchable. I feel like it would be an easier fit to make. Like again, the trade's not happening because Sacramento's not going to do this. But I think Barnes would be a better fit than Randle. And it's a 1-year deal, so you don't have to make it work long-term anyway.
Kings GM is in contract year, and owner has put pressure on him to make the playoffs. That is true.
Okay. That's a very good point for why the Kings could do something stupid. We always want to you always want to hunt for the teams that are doing something stupid, and usually that's why the Knicks get phone calls.
That is true. And Jay Shady said the Knicks signed Brunson's dad. Do you think they did this to entice his son in free agency?
So Brunson's dad has been Tibbs' assistant for many years. They've worked together before. Do you think it's just a coincidence or that this is about getting his son?
Yeah, I think they absolutely did it to get his son.
I think he just has a relationship with Tibbs. And there was a rumor last year that he was supposed to come, and he decided to stay with it. So Brunson, there was some issue of sexual harassment allegations when he left Minnesota.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I don't know anything about the veracity of that, but I do know that he, like, for the last 3 years, he's been coaching a high school team, an elite high school team, I guess. There was a rumor that he was going to come to be on Tibbs' staff last year, and that was unrelated to his son. I just think they worked well together, and it's just a coincidence that his son plays for Dallas. I also don't think, I think there's zero chance. Do you think Brunson, like, what would you come to New York? I mean, nothing against the New York Knicks, but you're like, hey, we just made it pretty far in the playoffs, and I get the chance to play with a generational talent, or I can go elsewhere.
You know, if I'm Brunson, there's no way I'm leaving Dallas.
Yeah, I don't think he's leaving as long as they're going to pay him. And it sounded like it's a priority to pay him. They'll probably make him a very reasonable contract. It's like the Knicks are going to max him. The Knicks are probably, at best, the Knicks would give him $20 million a year, which they'd have to find somewhere because they have salary cap issues. And I think Dallas is also going to try to do the same thing.
Yeah.
So I don't think him leaving. But what do you think about, like, do you think it's like the Knicks fail because they signed his dad and he's not going to come here?
No, it's to be expected.
But do you really think this is just about getting the son?
Yeah.
Okay, you're a little more conspiracy minded. I think he's worked with Tibbs for many years.
Okay. Next one, Brutus Gorham submitted a trade. It's a three-way trade. The Knicks get Eric Bledsoe, PJ Washington, Portland's first rounder, the number 7 pick, and 2 second-rounders. The Hornets get Kemba Walker and a second. And the Blazers get Burks, Randle, and this year's pick.
Sure. This is one of those ones. First of all, I'm not smart enough to remember everyone that was involved in the trade. All I know is we got rid of a lot of bad contracts and swept 11-7. Sure.
Right. Yeah. Bledsoe and Washington are both expiring after this year.
I honestly would do this, which I asked this on Twitter and people hated this, but the 11 and Randle just to move up to the 7 and cap filler for Portland. If I can get cap filler to get off of Randle's contract and flip 11-7, I'm doing it.
So you're fine with just basically like a salary dump.
I am fine with the salary dump. I think I am purely all about addition to subtraction here with Randle. I think you bring him back next year. It's a failure of the organization. You drafted Obi. It's clearly time to move to Obi over Randle. You're just going to have a logjam there again next year. And I don't think every logjam is the same. This is a particularly bad one for the locker room. You're going to limit everyone's development. It's all going to be about Randle. And I'll look like a moron if Randle comes back and looks like an all-star, but I really just don't see that happening. I'm fine moving on. I think the team will be better overall if we move on. I don't see a path forward with Randle.
Yeah, fair.
So like I mean, look at the Celtics. The Celtics, addition to subtraction, they got rid of Kemba and they got rid of Evan Fournier. I mean, we're the morons here, but they got rid of those two guys and now they're in the finals. Obviously, it was a little more than that, but like sometimes just removing certain players. I mean, the Dallas removed Porzingis. That seemed to really help them.
Yeah.
I mean, you could argue they got almost nothing for Porzingis. It was a complete salary dump. I mean, I guess Dinwiddie was helpful generally, but like really, it was just like removing Porzingis from the lineup was just helpful. Even though Porzingis is a good player, he does a lot in the court. He just was not a fit with what they were doing. So you just got rid of him, and the team was just better.
Yeah.
And I think this is a Porzingis situation here, where if you just remove the guy, the team will overall. I think for everyone's development, beyond getting a point guard, having a guy that just clogs everything and makes your offense more one-dimensional is not very helpful.
Agreed. All right,
Okay.
Eric St. Croix submitted Jazz get Randall, Burks, Grimes, McBride. This year's first, Dallas's first next year, and the 2024 first from Mitchell and Royce O'Neal.
No.
I don't like that one at all.
I don't like that. I think I think Donovan Mitchell's a very good player. But trading a half our everything we have basically got a guy who's like, what is he, 6 foot?
I mean, I don't think
He's a good dynamic player. I just think gutting the roster to get him is not the best idea. What did we give up there?
it was Randle, Burks, Grimes, McBride, and 3 firsts.
The 3 firsts really kill me. I feel like the Knicks shouldn't be trading first. I mean, I don't think the Knicks should be trading first at this stage. Unless you're like doing a flip, basically.
Right.
Getting a first back.
Yeah, no, it's too much. It's too much. And then you got a thin bench, and are you any better than Utah at that point?
Yeah, you have to figure out how to way to get better and over an overall team. Obviously, we're not gonna get a big 3 here. We're not, and obviously, it doesn't always work out the Nets. The path forward, I don't know what the perfect path forward for the Knicks are, but like just having good players at every position that play well together would be a good start.
Yeah.
But like gutting the roster moves, I don't. The Kings, their coach left. Things are shaky there. Is there a Mitchell trade that's realistic?
I thought the Jazz's coach left.
Did I say? I meant. What did I say?
Kings.
Oh, I meant to say the Jazz. I meant to say the Jazz. Sorry, I was thinking of Mitchell. And then I don't know why I said. Yeah, I meant the Jazz. Do you think they're trading Mitchell?
No.
Yeah, I still think unless he demands it, why would they do it?
No, he's their best player. He's a lot younger than Gobert. There's no way.
I mean, if anything, they're going to trade Gobert. Do you want to trade for Gobert?
No, I don't.
Okay. Is there a Randle trade? I know is there a Randle trade you see happening? Give me something, Jay.
Only if they
Maybe
want
on
to
the top
do
of your head.
like a salary dump. Like you could do Bledsoe, and then I think a sign and trade with Ingles.
So you would do a salary dump for Randle?
I would.
Oh, I thought you said you're giving me crap for so you wouldn't do the 11 for the 7?
You know what? Now that I'm thinking about this roster, and yeah, just go youth. I changed my mind.
I mean, it's not even that Randle's so old. 'Cause he's not that much older than Obi, but go with guys that are athletic and fast. Change the offense a little bit.
So you could do one with Phoenix too.
Yeah, what could you with Phoenix? Phoenix. Oh, so there's a rumor out there. There was a couple of rumors I read. One of the rumors, and I said this to you, I told you this one already, but it was Randle to the Hawks for Gallinari. What do you think of that one?
Sure. You don't have to worry about roster spot because he's always injured. So
always injured.
Why not?
At least as a Knick, he'll always be injured. And the other one was supposedly there was an offer where the Suns offered Shamet, Crowder, and Campaign plus draft considerations for him.
I don't like Crowder. I have a different salary dump with Phoenix.
Okay, what's your salary? I think that would be fine. I guess Campaign won't be a bad guy to get. What's your salary dump?
Sarek, Campaign, and Torrey Craig.
Okay, I like Craig's defense. Sure,
that works salary wise too.
Yeah, do you think there are any teams that are really highly valuing Randle at this point? He's coming off also I get he was all NBA, but everyone kind of bases everything off your most recent season. Unless you had major injuries, people are like, hey, that's great that he did that a little while ago, but he sucked last year.
Yeah, I don't think teams are I think teams would be happy to salary dump for him. I don't think his value is that low.
If he's kind of free, you would take him. And you could see fits in of the playoff teams. Dallas would probably look better with Randle. You have to have a team where there's already some other guys that control the offense, where he'd be kind of an extra piece as opposed to the focus of the offense.
Right, but I'm saying I think teams value him more than a salary dump, but not as much as an all-star.
I think it's if you said I think it's closer to the spectrum of I don't think there's a lot of value. I think there's more if we have to give up something for him, we're not so interested. We have to give up very little for him, maybe we'll do it.
So Dallas got outsized in the playoffs.
Right. No, you could see him down low being very helpful. I guess it would have to be a team that already has a point guard that Randle has to change his role, basically.
There's a certain player's dad who is on the Knicks staff. I'm not talking about Brunson either.
There's a certain player whose dad is on the Knicks staff.
Yep.
Who is this?
The Knicks have signed Tim Hardaway Sr. as a scout. Tim
Cool.
Hardaway Jr. and Julius Randle make almost identical salaries.
Wait, Tim Hardaway Jr. and what?
Randle.
They make identical salary. I thought he was getting like $20 million a year.
Hardaway and Randle.
So anyway, would you
They're
shot?
both
Would
making
you bring?
$21 million a year.
Okay, so would you bring back Timmy for a third time?
Sure, why not?
I think he's like has maybe 2 years to go.
4.
4 years to go. Yeah, that would be a tough one.
I
Though
think,
again, he clearly doesn't have to be a starter.
right, that's what I'm thinking. Like him as a 6th man off the bench, I think is pretty good. And then that clears up the logjam at the power forward spot.
Yeah, I mean, you basically having him just like as a guy coming off the bench shooting threes.
And Dallas, if you're Dallas, you're like, well, we made the conference finals without him, and we got outsized, and now we're getting a big man who will not be the offense will not be running through him.
Right,
Randall would be
again,
good
'cause,
with like Luka passing to him, like.
Yeah, he'll be fine with Luka. The thing is, I feel like if it's in New York where he thinks he has to control everything, he goes to Dallas. First of all, he's from Dallas, so he probably welcomed that. But you're like, it's Luka's team. I'm fine with that. Luka's going to set me up basically for threes and set me up down low. Like, I mean, Julius Randle's a very strong individual. He can do a lot in the basketball court. It's that when he tries to do too much, it's a frustrating thing.
Yeah, if I'm Dallas, I totally talk myself into Randall catching lobs from Luka all day.
Yeah, and I think on a good team where his roles are slightly diminished, his defense might be better because he's in a like he might buy into that role a little better.
Yeah.
Hey, Mitchell Robinson, the other big story for this summer. Here's a question for you, Jay: if Mitchell Robinson, if the Knicks decide to part ways, or Mitch is deciding to part ways, just say before, would you spend the number 11 pick on a center?
I mean,
in theory,
Mitchell
Mitchell Robinson's going to walk. Do you spend the number 11 pick on a center to replace him?
You'd take best player available. If he's a center, yes.
Well, I'm asking like centers. I mean, best player available also is like just a totally. It's a subjective thing. Like some teams might say a center can't be the best player available because they're undervalued.
Well, no, because there's not going to be a point guard in that range.
No, I know, but like some team might just say like, yeah, there's 2 centers on the board who like on people's boards like they're highly rated, but we don't value centers as much, so we're just not going to put like in like it's a subjective thing. The best player available is just based on what you think. If you don't value centers that much, you're not going to make the best player available a center.
Right.
It's not an objective thing, basically.
I'm saying if the Knicks think a center is the best player available at their pick, then yes, go for it.
Okay, well,
although the Knicks also apparently thought Obi was the best player available when a point guard was available. So maybe,
yes. So I'm asking you your value. Do you think it is worth it in this league to put your waste? I keep saying waste. I don't mean to say waste. To spend your 11th pick on a center.
If you need a center, yeah, I don't see a problem with that.
Well, I mean, could you argue like last year we got Jericho Sims with the 58th pick? Centers generally are not paid as much as other positions. There are a lot of guys that play center in the league you can get on a cheaper contract, and also you have a 2nd round pick you can also spend on a center. Is it a good use of resources, basically?
Honestly,
Whereas,
other than a small forward, because I think RJ is kind of set there, I'm fine with them drafting any position.
okay,
I don't think there's
I'm fine with
any,
them taking
like,
a small forward.
must-keep
Also,
guy.
I'm fine with any position. I think I would argue against a center being a good use of that pick, unless you truly think he's a stretch, a center that can both play defense and stretch the floor, which is hard to find.
Hey, Mark.
Yeah.
Are you ready for the NBA champs to be crowned? Join the
I
finals.
am, Jay.
Good.
Go on.
I am glad you said that. Join the finals action with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. New customers can make any $5 NBA bet and get $150 in free bets instantly. Looking to turn small bet into big payday during the NBA Finals? With the DraftKings same-day parlay, you can do just that. This NBA season, a customer placed a $5 same-game parlay and won over $5,000. Create your own parlay by combining multiple bets, like which team will win, total threes made, total rebounds, and more. And boom, you've got a shot at an even bigger payout. So download DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code NYKP. Make any $5 bet during the NBA Finals and get $150 in free bets instantly. That's promo code NYKP. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. So I won $145 on a $5 bet last week. Using
Okay, so drinks are in you.
Yep. So
Awesome.
use code NYKP, DraftKings Sportsbook.
Awesome. Jay, what lessons should we learn from the two teams in the finals? Or either team in the finals?
Building through the draft works.
Yeah, that helps. In fairness, the Celtics, their two best players were both like top 5 picks. That really helps.
It does, but you have to have draft picks to make draft picks.
That's true. And also a bunch of the other guys like Time Lord, Grant Williams, bunch of draft picks. And Al Horford, while not a draft pick, was not exactly really valued the time they got him.
Marcus Smart.
Marcus Smart was a top 5 pick also. I think he was number 5 in the draft.
He was that high?
I think he was actually. Yeah. I think at the time let me see. I could be wrong about this, but 6. He was 6th pick in the draft. Yeah.
Okay.
At the time, I remember also people saying that they got him at I thought it was 5 with 6, but he really could be a number 1 pick. Like people were valuing him pretty high also at the time.
Interesting.
So one thing I was going to say I learned from the Celtics, I guess that is that Mike Woodson was right.
The East is big.
Yeah. Well, I mean, more than that is Mike Woodson. What was Mike Woodson's approach that I think we complained about a lot at the time because I don't think we had the right personnel. But you remember what he used to do in defense?
Who?
What was one of the big traits of his defense?
Oh, switching.
Yeah, switch everything.
Yeah.
The Celtics and Golden State really switch a lot, but if you have the personnel to do it, it's a really good defensive strategy.
Yep.
So I think one of the things I'm learning is the Celtics don't have the greatest point guard. I mean, the Golden State has a fantastic point guard, obviously, but the Celtics don't actually have an amazing point guard, but they have a guy who could guard multiple positions and gives enough on offense. And they have a bunch of other guys on the floor that could switch pretty much every position.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Maybe we should try to. And also, by the way, we have the number 1 defense versus the number 2 defense in the NBA. So maybe going all in on defense is a smart thing, and maybe having guys who are switchable would be very helpful.
Agreed.
Who do we have on the roster that fits that?
We have RJ.
RJ can switch on multiple things. Who else?
I think Grimes could switch.
Yeah, I think so too. Others?
Maybe Obi. Maybe. Not so much. McBride.
Kind of falls off from that. I mean, Cam, in theory, could.
In theory. I feel like Cam is this fairy tale that we haven't actually seen on the court yet.
No, you remember Mr. Potential we had a number of years ago? I think Anthony Randolph?
Yeah.
I think Cam's a new version of it.
Yeah. I have a list
Lots
of all
of potential.
The finals players drafted by their teams if you want to hear it.
What did you say?
I have a list of all the players in the finals drafted by their own teams if you want to hear it.
Sure.
So the Celtics, we already said Smart, Brown, Tatum. Both Williamses, Pritchard, and Nesmith.
It's a lot of players.
And both Williamses were the 27th and 22nd picks. Pritchard was 26th pick. And
not bad.
For the Warriors, you obviously have Curry, Thompson, Green, but you also have Looney, Poole, Wiseman, Kuminga, and Moody. So that's
not bad. Though Kuminga's not really playing, and Wiseman's not.
Wiseman
really
might actually be a bust, but Poole's the 28th pick. Draymond was second rounder. Clay was 11th pick. So
Steph was only the 6th pick, or 7th pick, or whatever it was.
7th. The other Knicks picked 8th.
Yeah. No, that's true. I feel like that's also why I feel like this 11th pick is super important. I mean, I would, if we can trade up, it'd be great, but I don't want to give up too much to trade up. Mm-hmm. But just adding another really good player would make a big difference. You just need a lot. If you're not going to have 1 or 2 guys who are just amazing, have a bunch of guys who are really good can make a big difference.
Agreed.
Obviously, having a Tatum or obviously a Steph Curry would make a big difference also. But like Jordan Poole has been pretty awesome. What was Poole drafted at? If you have it in front of you,
What was
I
Poole's
think he's a
what?
late first. Jordan Poole. I think he's a late first rounder, right?
Yeah. I said it already, but I already closed.
Oh,
it.
whatever.
I think it was 27th.
Yeah. You can get some. Yeah, so I think the Knicks are going in the right direction with that. Any other lessons you have from this besides getting a the greatest 3-point shooter in the history of game on your team?
Apparently, if you get a reputation, you can just be a complete maniac and never get a second technical in the finals.
Yes.
There's
Yes,
no
you
way
can.
Draymond should not have gotten like at least 3 technicals last game. It was ridiculous.
Well, you got to have the series tied 1-1. I mean, like the NBA is just you have to get to 7 games here. That's all.
Yeah, if one of these teams goes up 3-1, you better bet Scott Foster is going to be reffing Game 6.
Right. Bill Simmons, they keep alluding to it on their show. I think they call
The extender.
what do they call him?
The extender.
The extender. Also, if you want to see Draymond Green, will he get a second technical? If Golden State's up, he'll get a second technical.
Right. Yeah.
Any other lessons from these two teams? By the way, who do you think's going to win? It's 1-1 right now. Celtics had an amazing comeback in Game 1. In Game 2, they Golden State just murdered them at the end of the third quarter, and the Celtics gave up basically.
I said Golden State in 6 before the series started. I still think Golden State in 6.
I would probably say Golden State in 7, but I think this has to go 7 games. This is good. I also wish last night wasn't a blowout at the end. I want to see more close games.
Yeah. We have anything else on the lineup?
Yeah, I mean, maybe we closer to the draft we can talk more about the players are available. Hey, what do you let's say the Knicks want to get there's a lot of people are talking about Dyson Daniels. He's out of the G League right now. He's slotted at 8th in the mock draft. To get to 11 to 8, what would and forgetting what the Pelicans would want? What do you think the Knicks have to give up to move up 3 or 4 places in the draft?
Julius Randle?
Would you give up the Dallas pick to move up?
No.
Okay.
I mean, no.
Okay.
I don't want to give two firsts for 1 first, even if it's a higher pick.
By the way, the rumor is the Knicks are trying to trade Kemba, which is expected. They're trying to trade Burks, which again is expected. But also trying to trade Evan Fournier. What do you think about the Knicks trying to trade Fournier?
I mean, he was really good for the team, but I don't think he's untouchable. What are you getting for him, and why are you moving him?
On the one hand, you got him for offense and 3-point shooting, and he was really good at shooting threes. Obviously, he had the highest number of threes in Knicks history, and shot at almost 40%. He was really good last year in that regard. Do you think his lack of defense makes him harder to play? If you look at these teams, neither team is playing a guy Celtics got rid of him basically and helped get them better. Do you think it hurts them having a guy like that out there who's just more limited on defense? And not that Fournier is the worst defender, but he's not.
He's like Jordan Poole in Golden State. If he's on, you're probably going to win a game. If he's off, you probably have to pull him.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you also need a coach who's willing to regulate his minutes a little more.
Yeah, well, that's the thing with Tibbs. On days where he was way off, Tibbs would just keep him in. I think you need a coach that's more willing to mess with the lineups and have multiple game plans. I feel like we're at the stage of the season where you see what really good coaches also do. It's like a chess match, and I feel like we weren't seeing that with the Knicks this season.
No.
Not that Tibbs is a bad coach, but I don't think he's on the level of Steve Kerr or even Udoka, who's a rookie coach, but he's been an assistant for a long time. But he's making a lot of interesting adjustments that I don't see Tibbs doing.
I mean, on the one hand, the Knicks defense by the end of the year, I think when they were the 11th ranked defense, the Knicks generally, and they probably, the Knicks probably will have a top 10 defense this year. There's a decent chance just because of the way Tibbs coaches and guys buying in. I especially think if Randle's gone, they'll be more likely to have a top 10 defense. like, does that alone make you think like he deserves to keep coaching this team?
Yeah. I think he's been dealt a pretty crappy hand, with just a weird roster and Randle pouting and not a starting level point guard, and give him a chance. In
theory, with a different some alterations to the roster, he might just look a lot better. And you assume going into the season, whereas beginning from last season, it took him a while to get to like trust Grimes, but this year he might value Grimes over Fournier in certain situations because he trusts Grimes in the second year of playing with him.
Yeah.
The roster gets better. Maybe he's more willing to like bend the roster a little more. Maybe Cam shows him some stuff and he gives Cam more minutes.
Yeah.
I also feel like not that obviously we have issues with how Tibbs, like how he treats rookies and like young players versus veterans. The veteran that he seems to have the hardest time controlling or holding accountable is Randle. It seems like he might have a better time with everyone else on the roster.
I would agree with that. It seemed like there was something not good going on there.
Yeah, like I feel like also like, as you said, like that Tibbs' job, like he's been dealt a tough hand. I think Randle and how Randle was last year was a really tough hand for Coach. If you remove him, maybe Tibbs just looks better also.
Yeah. No,
so anyway, Randle is guaranteed to be our starting point guard next year.
Oh,
no
absolutely.
question.
Absolutely.
There's no way. By the way, if Randle plays 35 minutes a game for the Knicks next year, are you mad at Tibbs or are you mad at Rose?
I'm mad at Rose.
Yeah, how can you not be mad at Rose? It's Rose's fault at this point.
I know I've said it to death, but I feel like if you had Halliburton, Randle looks a lot better also. So that's also Rose's fault.
Right. I think the team president's got to step up and pick a direction. And like, I totally understand him going like, hey, I want to see what I can get for Randle. I don't want to take a bad deal. At some point, the deal's not there. You got to find a way just to move him.
So last question before we go.
Oh, shoot. Can I rapid fire Facebook questions?
Okay.
Ask me the question while I pull it up.
The Knicks tried out Ty today. How mad are you going to be if the Knicks trade down to get Ty at like 17?
I'm going to be mad if the Knicks trade down. You have to get a lot of value to trade down. I really think obviously it's not you can pick a guy at 17 who's much better than everyone else. The guy you're going to take at like 11, but you should be able to find a guy at 11 who's pretty good. I'm not against it. I mean, like, if the Knicks think Ty is also, if you trade down, what if you don't get him? Well, like you trade on 17 and he goes at 16.
I mean,
unless you do it after the guy's picked.
Either that or, I guess you make a lot of calls and you kind of put out feelers.
Yeah, I don't know. Are you gonna be so mad they draft Ty?
It depends. If they draft Ty at 11, yes, because he's projected to go at like 17, 18.
Well, I mean, in theory, like they drafted quickly, 10 spots too early. Like where he's projecting, are you so mad they drafted quickly at 25?
No, but it would have been nice if they drafted like
they took someone else at 25 and then took him in the second round,
and then got quickly, yeah.
Rapid
fire we're just about out of time.
Yeah, I'll fire these 5 questions for you fast. Terry writes, hypothetically, if the Knicks traded for Sacramento's 4th pick, what would the Knicks be giving up?
Well, definitely, I think it starts with a first and Randle.
And probably the Dallas pick.
Either maybe not the second Dallas pick, but I think one of the younger guys.
I'd rather give it the Dallas pick, but
I would too. But I think that's what the asking price would be.
Paul writes, moving up to 4, assuming we could get Ivy. Why? We need a point guard. We get a combo guard who averaged 3 assists.
Because the Knicks just decided that they're going to be ahead of the curve, and they're just not going to have a point guard until the whole NBA comes around and decides that point guards are useless.
I don't know. You just need also better players. If you get a 2 who's pretty awesome, we can make that work. You get an awesome 2, an awesome 3. We can figure out the point guard situation. Just get better players in every position. Paul writes, if we got Donovan Mitchell, who would we have just taken in the draft? How much worse would we be than the Jazz were with him? So basically, we got forgetting the draft. Obviously, we could have drafted Mitchell. He's saying, how much worse would we be than the Jazz were with him? Like, how much are we better than the Jazz were with him?
Probably not.
Especially when you factor in we have to trade for him.
I mean, they have Gobert, Royce O'Neal. Until this season, they had Ingles. Like, they had a good roster.
Yeah. Our roster is very mediocre. Paul writes, Brunson, Tyus Jones, Brogdon, preferences, anyone else we should target. I think we both agree Brunson's not coming here, right?
Agreed.
So Tyus Jones or Brogdon. And Jones, in theory, he's got a great situation in Memphis in the sense that the team's awesome. On the other hand, we give him an opportunity to start. He's never starting over Ja.
Right.
What do you think?
I don't even know. I feel like there's no good solution right now.
Obviously not. Brogdon's a pretty good. He's always injured. I might take a shot at Tyus Jones, give him a like some kind of decent money, not crazy money. If you give him an opportunity to start, and if it doesn't work out, it's not the biggest deals.
Yeah.
And also he was pretty good at Memphis. Obviously, he didn't put up amazing numbers, but he played pretty well on a pretty good team.
Nice wants Dejounte Murray, but it's going to cost a lot for him. Too.
I mean, how many? Like 4 first-round picks to get him?
Might be a lot.
Yeah, he's really awesome, but I think Spurs are going to want a lot for a young point guard who looks really good. Paul's last question:
Bones Highland is the future.
What do you say?
Unless they think Bones Highland's the future.
No. Oh, Bones Highland, the guy from is he on Denver?
Yeah, isn't it? Am I thinking of the other Murray? Oh, I'm thinking of the other Murray. Never mind.
Yes. Jamal Murray would be really awesome. Coming off a major injury, I still get through. I'd give a first round pick to get him.
Yeah, I was thinking of Jamal Murray. They're both
Paul writes,
yeah.
Should we? By the way, Bones, and I said this before, Bones Highland and IQ, I think are the same person. Paul writes, should we bring in Quinn Snyder with Donovan Mitchell? What do you think about trying to get? Would you replace Tibbs with the Jazz coach?
No. The Jazz underperformed every year in the playoffs for like 6 straight years. Like
they always had a really good regular season record.
Yeah.
And their coach could not figure out the playoffs.
Right. Yeah. No, I'm good with that.
Okay. Jay, make a crazy prediction to end the show.
Crazy prediction is first of all, I think there's going to be a big move that we're not expecting because the Knicks aren't leaking anything anymore.
No, there's no leaking. There's only the only thing that was expected was that we heard the Knicks. Did we heard ahead of time the Knicks were going to get Cam Reddish before it happened?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, maybe I'm okay, fine. Then nothing. I don't know. They're good at keeping things under wraps, and they're good at surprising us.
Sign and trade with Mitchell Robinson.
That'd be pretty cool. I'm also, by the way, I think I've come around that I don't mind if the Knicks apparently they can only give him 4 years, $55 million, which is not a crazy contract, especially if you consider Noel Burks come off the books after the season.
Andrew's prediction is this podcast goes 3 seasons before I rage quit.
I don't think we'll make it that far. Okay, end the show, Jay.
If the Knicks pass up, if next year there's a really good point guard available in the draft and the Knicks don't draft him, that will probably be it for me. There's only so much a guy can take.
I think next year, if the Knicks are in a position to draft a top 5 point, the best point guard in the draft, I think I'll be really upset. I mean, I guess that'll be good, the fact that you'll have that chance, but I don't know if I can suffer through that season.
Yeah.
The Knicks have to make the playoffs next year, right, Jay?
If they don't, you're going to have to give me weekly pep talks like you did last season to even turn the mic on. So
the Knicks got to get back. I just want a team that's like...
If they suck again, I really think we should just start doing video game streams again. Because
if they move Randle and all the young guys start playing better and better, you could see real growth. I could buy into that. If they bring back Randle, Heath Powdy, the team's just bad, and the rotations suck, and guys are just getting worse. If I see some growth, I can get behind it.
Okay, we'll see. We'll see. Over under 1.5 years before this turns into a variety video game stream. Take your bets now. Thanks for joining the chat, Matt. Thanks for joining the chat, Nice and Andrew. Appreciate everybody who joins in, Jay Shady. And thank you. We will be back soon. We have a comedy podcast, The Brink of Sanity. Check that out, brinkofsanityshow.com. We just posted a new episode right before we recorded this.
Yeah, we'll be back around the NBA draft, which is end of the month.
Yeah, a couple weeks.
Yeah.
So see you all soon. Thanks again. Goodbye.
Bye, love. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye.